You are now entering the memory mortuary, where your childhood is reflected, bisected, and dissected before being laid to rest. So let's see what's on the slab for our morticians today on this episode of the Memory Mortuary.
Gabe, can you bring down an extra small coffin?
How small are we talking?
Let's say 3 3/4 inches, 4 at max.
One extra small coffin. What's it for?
I'm trying to figure that out. Can you identify this one? She's a tiny woman, and the toe tag is too small for me to read.
Let's see here. Smurfette?
Nah, she's not blue.
Thumbelina?
No skateboard or magnets.
A fairy?
There's no such thing as fairies.
Do you hear something?
Is someone running our shower?
Let's go check it out. Oh my god!
Hey, do you mind? I'm trying to enjoy the steam.
Who are you?
I've been here forever. So long I don't even remember my own name. I've seen morticians autopsy everything from moving pictures to Rubik's Cubes. I'm just surprised it took you this long to notice me.
I can't believe we have a ghost in the mortuary.
I prefer the name Entity.
We should start making her pull her weight around here. Maybe give her a job to do.
Yeah, agreed.
Look, Entity, you mind coming this way and telling us if you know this tiny lady on the slab over here?
Oh, I know her. That's...
Welcome to the Memory Mortuary. I'm your co-host, Gabe, and today...
I'm here too,
Andreas! You always go by your full name, Andreas F. Marangos. You always throw in the little flair.
I sometimes I do.
You always do.
I always do.
And we're joined by our friend of the deceased.
Hi, I'm Emily Barksdale. I'm a friend of the deceased, and I'm excited to talk about Polly Pocket today.
So, of course, what's on the slab today is Polly Pocket. Now, if I turn to the great collection of information given to us by Wikipedia, I would be told that Polly Pocket is a toy line of dolls and accessories. The fashion Polly dolls sold by Mattel are significantly different from those originally created and sold by Bluebird Toys. In 1998, Mattel redesigned Polly Pocket. The new doll was larger, with a more lifelike appearance than the original dolls. She had straight ponytail rather than the curly bob hairstyle used previously. But the following year, in 1999, Mattel also introduced Fashion Polly, which used the same characteristics from that new Polly Pocket doll, but they came in the form of 3 3/4 inch plastic jointed dolls, very similarly in scale to Star Wars action figures. So that's what Wikipedia tells us. But that doesn't really get at the heart or the core of the autopsy we're performing today. And that's why we have you here as an expert, both to share your memories and to get us to the bottom of this mystery that lies on the slab. So, Emily, if you could, please, what is Polly Pocket to you?
Well, to me, so again, we're just talking about fashion Polly at this point.
And what is fashion Polly?
Well, I kind of feel the need to to backtrack a little bit from that. So I think you read the whole line started, was it 89? Late 80s.
89 was 89. The start.
So Polly Pocket, and it makes more sense, the name Polly Pocket, from the origins of it, to be quite honest. I was looking at these dolls probably from 99 to 2003 personally, but Polly Pocket started, I believe it was, again, pocket-sized dolls. I think the idea was to have a teeny tiny little doll that had a house. Every Polly Pocket came with a house or some kind of structure that was modeled after a makeup compact. So it's kind of like a clamshell little apartment or house or whatever it was, school, with a tiny little doll that doesn't really articulate or anything like that, but she'd kind of go around on a peg and you can position her.
I've seen many Japanese toys with the same similar clamshell, micro world idea.
Okay.
Like they've done it for Pokemon, they've done it for
Right.
Digimon, they've done it for all different kinds of toy lines from Japan where you crack it open and
Mhm.
inside is your entire playset in a sense.
So that was original Polly Pocket. And then towards the mid to late 90s, they introduced Fashion Polly at the same time as the original Polly Pocket in little like clamshell house. But they introduced Fashion Polly as well. I'm not sure what prompted them to do that. Maybe it was because of an increasing interest in the fashion aspect. Like you couldn't dress up the teeny tiny little doll. She just kind of
Yeah.
was a little figure. But with Fashion Polly, they made the distinction of, okay, so she was 3.5 inches, about
3 3/4.
3 3/4. So she was like a little bit bigger. Her arms and legs moved, and she had more facial features. But the thing I feel like that set them apart was the size. They were still on the small side for fashion dolls. She was a lot smaller than a Barbie doll, a lot smaller than a Bratz doll. It was about that size. We're looking at a vintage Princess Leia.
We have vintage Princess Leia from 1970.
Who's seen better days?
She has seen better days.
She's seen better days, but she's on the table to give us an idea of scale.
Yeah.
This is roughly what the Fashion Polly Pocket would have.
Right. But the thing is, so it was Fashion Polly because unlike Princess Leia in front of us, and unlike the original Polly Pocket where, you know, her clothes are part of like the plastic mold, Polly Pocket's like plastic mold had her in pretty much a leotard, and they introduced these plastic rubbery clothes. So it did become a fashion doll, but very unique in that they weren't fabric or anything like that. It got rid of problems with Velcro. That might have been like an issue for Barbie. They were literally they're molded for the doll. You just kind of slip them on. So they...
I remember they had a massive cut down the back, so it would make it easy to... And these things would rip, too.
They would rip.
They would rip.
Gabe, how
That's
many
true.
Polly Pockets did you have?
My sister owned quite a lot, especially accessories. She had the ones that I'm looking at right now. She actually had both of these. She had a lot of the accessories. I remember that the hands were just kind of open palm, and everything had a little, I don't know what you
Oh,
call
I
that.
understand.
Yeah,
and it would just,
there's like a hand kind of grip for
yeah,
it.
so it
kind
would
of.
go slip in there, and it would hold on to it. It was for everything. Guitar, for handbags.
So you never had to
Whatever.
worry about, like, Star Wars figures, the hands molded for the gun they come with.
Yeah.
You can't fit
Yeah.
a larger weapon, you can't fit a smaller weapon.
Yeah.
Here, every piece of accessory has a hook on it, in a sense, that hooks
Mm-hmm.
right to the hand.
Yeah.
That's neat.
It was,
That's neat.
it gripped on pretty well. But, yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
the clothes, I actually, at home, still have this orange shirt specifically for the guy. The reason why I have it, like I mentioned off, recording before, was that my ferrets really loved these, or one of my ferrets really loved these.
The clothes?
The clothes.
Yeah.
I guess the rubbery texture was really good on their teeth. They enjoyed it. So, so one of them was just chewed up to oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
And they would rip it up, and they would take it. They didn't care for the actual Polly Pocket doll. They just wanted the clothes. So,
Well, I think that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't think any other doll was really doing this. And if it was Mattel that was producing Fashion Polly specifically, so I think they were kind of smart. First of all, they're small dolls, so the collectability aspect is absolutely there. They're not going to take up that much space. And then also, you couldn't really, at least when this was first released, get either knockoff Polly Pockets because it was very much a unique idea, or with a Barbie, you could get like a brand name Barbie and then put her in any other fashion doll outfit. You really can't do that with Polly Pocket. You pretty much have to get the Polly
this
Pocket
rubber
brand.
thing that would stretch around the body.
Right, exactly. So now that you're talking about the ferrets and chewing on the clothes, I wonder how many,
Kids.
little kids ended up chewing on those.
Yeah,
I
because
wonder if they caused a problem.
I still remember it vividly. Those things could really stretch.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years, it would wear down, and just slightly tugging at it could tear the whole thing off.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if kids were, you give this to a little child, they're probably going to start gnawing on it.
Yeah. And so I think there must have been a slightly higher age restriction on these. Like, I wouldn't hand these to a 3-year-old by any means, but probably 5 and up, I would say was a
Certainly
good
a
age.
choking hazard.
Choking hazard, yeah. So that's the thing. The other thing that I specifically remember being a problem with these clothes were they're small, they're easily losable. I think it was a situation once where I dropped an article of her clothing like behind my bed, couldn't find it. And I don't know if in the summer heat, got this tacky kind of situation.
Oh,
By the time I
God.
found it, it was tacky, covered in dust and disgusting, and like
Yes, they
tossed it.
That
that happened a lot actually to the ones my sister owned. If they were
Yeah.
in the sun, if any dust got onto them,
Mhm.
it was just stuck on there. It was
It's
disgusting.
over.
I've got a Power of the Force X-wing that is currently in the Goodwill box because of that issue entirely.
Yeah.
The entire thing has become unfixably tacky.
Mhm.
And that actually, fun fact to anybody who's interested to know this little detail, what that is the plastic has changed on the molecular level.
Mhm.
Due to heat and exposure to the air, on a molecular level, the plastic begins to change so that it can no longer ever undo the tackiness. Any attempt to undo the tackiness will actually begin to destroy the plastic itself.
Yeah.
So it becomes worthless, or in the case of the X-Wing, it's spare parts.
Yeah.
It's whatever survived.
Well, in this case, I don't know. I mean, Mattel had to have known that going into this, so I don't know if it's a thing of like, all right, do we sacrifice the fact that these clothes aren't going to last forever? Kids are going to leave things in the car. It's going to get gross. But, they're tiny little things. Relatively, they're not expensive, and people will just buy, because you could buy just outfits.
Yeah.
Banking on the fact that their daughter's birthday is coming up, so they're going to get another playset anyways, and
Yeah.
one lost shirt is just a drop in the bucket for Polly Pocket. So maybe that was part of the thing behind it. Yeah.
Not to. I'm sorry, but this is again the Japanese toy culture is coming to my mind for some reason.
Okay.
So Japanese toy culture, there's a saying that is, if I'm quoting this right, it translates to small gift, big smile. I think roughly.
Okay.
And the idea is keep the gift small, keep it simple, and the idea is the giving of the gift and the receiving, not the collectibility. Can I keep it perfect? Like it's more about I'm going to give you a gift and you're going to use it and you're going to have fun with it and you're going to get a smile out of it. And that's the value of it.
Right.
So that's why for some reason this comes across to me as very similar to the same toyetic design that Japanese merchandise sometimes has.
Well, and when I said like collectability before, Polly Pockets I don't think by any means were created in a way that some people collect Barbies and want to keep Barbie in the package. I feel like Polly Pocket really wasn't that.
Yeah.
Even the packaging, especially the early packaging for Fashion Polly before they got into like the play sets per se, were little backpacks. So they're little clear backpacks, and they were usually a doll and then probably 3 to 4 different outfits in plastic that you could see through the backpack. So it's kind of like you were buying, the backpack was the packaging, but encouraged you to open it, play with it, and then use the backpack for other stuff, even if it is just to store your dolls. So it's very much asking to be interacted with. So, and I don't think there was a culture of keeping it pristine, keeping it in package or anything like that.
Barbie almost...
Which Barbie goes
they
either way.
They embrace that a lot of times. Not with all their products, but there's many products intended to be this is your specialist Barbie kind of thing.
Right, and Polly Pocket really wasn't that. So I did want to know, when Fashion Polly first started, they did have Fashion Polly to just distinguish it from Polly Pocket, which was the clamshell.
Yeah.
I believe a few years after the introduction of Fashion Polly, they got rid of the original Polly Pocket clamshell altogether. So I actually, as a kid, was not aware that Polly Pocket was ever the little makeup compact clamshell type thing. I only found out about that later because I always knew Polly Pocket as the 3 3/4 inch doll with the little rubbery clothes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because just to refresh myself for the episode, I went and I watched a bunch of Fashion Polly commercials. So the first few, it says Fashion Polly, and then they kind of forget that the clamshell Polly Pockets ever existed.
Yeah, I see that now actually here. I believe this is what you were talking about, how it came in.
Yeah.
And for our listeners in the educational sense, I quickly just looked it up, and Emily, it was 2002 when Mattel stopped producing the smaller Polly Pocket playset range, but continued to produce the larger fashion dolls.
Right. So they pretty much pivoted their marketing from this is Polly Pocket and this is like Polly Pocket is the clamshell thing and Fashion Polly is the rubbery clothes. They got rid of Polly Pocket, the original, altogether, and now just the clothes one is Polly Pocket.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I remember the marketing and everything surrounding that. It was just Polly Pocket, and it was the little like, Polly, what that was thing.
We'll include
on
that.
everything. But yeah, so that's how I pretty much knew it. And I have a sister who's 2.5 years younger than me. It was very easy for relatives and friends at birthday parties to get us gifts for a while, because chances are if you're buying something for a kid in class, you can probably just walk into, at the time, the Toys R Us or the KB Toys, grab a Polly Pocket thing. There's so many of them. Odds are she's not going to have it already. Odds are her sister's not going to have it already.
Yeah.
Whatever, give it to her. It's going to be it's going to be a good time, regardless if it's poolside theme or a rock star theme.
Because there were all these different. You showed me some of the commercials, and there were all these different. There was a plane, and there was a resort, and there was a pool, and they all had these interactive playset features, which is almost a toy design that I don't even see as much anymore.
It's actually incredibly neat.
It's pretty cool.
It is.
The product is inside this. It isn't something like, okay, I'm throwing it out.
Yeah.
It's
The package is part of the
the
deal.
packaging is the part of it. It carries all the parts in there. You unfold it and you create, like runways. And it's actually incredibly cool. Yeah, it is very Japanese, though, like you said.
It's strange.
That's interesting.
Oh, you also showed me all the different ways that they made the outfits work.
Yeah, so there were a couple different.
You got the rubbery ones, like Gabe was talking about.
There were the rubbery ones. So that's kind of, I feel like, where Fashion Polly kind of started. So Fashion Polly at first was a fully plastic doll with plastic hair, like molded hair. So typically have a ponytail, but for, different kind of things, they'll change it up with the rubbery kind of clothes on top of that. And I feel like once they kind of started getting comfortable, to me it kind of feels like they were testing the waters at first. Like, are people really going to buy these rubbery little outfits
a doll
for
that
their
doesn't
thing?
have any brushable hair.
Right, and that was a big thing, I think, for them, was like, all right, so once they kind of tested the waters with that and said, okay, this is marketable, this is something that little girls are interested, they started to get, I don't want to call it gimmicky, but maybe more innovative. There's only so much you can do with these little dolls, right?
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, they never branched into other licenses like Barbie does. There's Barbie Star Wars, Barbie Wizard of Oz. They never really did that. They're very much their own brand. So they started to kind of create their own little gimmicks here and there. So at one point they did introduce brushable hair. And again, it's a tiny little figure. So for it to be brushable, the hair is
extra
floor
long.
length.
Yeah.
But they did kind of cool things with it. I think the first thing with brushable hair, I mean, it's plastic hair. Like, the strands are plastic. But they introduced a thing where you could color, quote unquote, your Polly Pocket's hair. But instead of coloring it with dye or something like that, they've treated the plastic in a way that when you put cold water on it, it goes from platinum blonde to pink.
Okay.
So it's a kind
Very
of,
cool.
It was cool. It was like, ooh, like kind of magical. And I'm sure for parents, kind of a relief of like, oh my God, every
They're
little
not
girl.
going to make a mess.
Right.
Paint it.
And every little girl, I think, at one point tries to dye their doll's hair, put makeup on it, and ends up ruining the thing. It's cool. It's a cool way to market to kids because, oh, isn't this cool? It's a cool way to market to parents because it's like, your daughter can be creative and color her doll's hair, and you're not going to, like, destroy your carpet in the process.
And little kids also, for some reason, turn almost anything they own into a bath toy. I don't know why.
Right.
Yes, they
but
do.
they do that. They just, hey,
Well, it's
let's
because
put the whole thing in
it's
there.
because taking a bath as a kid is like this isn't fun. They have to
Yeah.
bring in something to
Yeah,
be fun.
it's that.
So-
And then I always, as a little kid, saw it as almost like, this is my opportunity for the G.I. Joe to do their submarine missions, their
Yeah.
underwater
Mhm.
missions.
I used to do the same sort of
remember
thing.
I had a not micro, but like a 3 3/4 inch, same size as Polly Pocket, G.I. Joe single man submarine. That when I went into the tub, this thing came with me because that's my only opportunity outside of the summer in the pool to play with that thing.
Well, and I wonder, so at first, again, with the first introduction of these rubbery outfits, I don't think they ever intended for Polly Pocket to become a bath toy, but I think what ended up happening was, unlike Barbie, unlike these fashion dolls, there's no hollow aspect to Polly Pocket. She's solid plastic because she's so small.
She's Leia here.
Yeah. Well, and that opens the door for, hey, this kind of can be a bath toy because you're not going to grow mold in her head by accident like you would with a Barbie.
And if the hair is designed to get wet, in that one case to change color, that means it's probably made, that the hair is probably some sort of, ultra durable synthetic plastic compared to the Barbie soft and
Right.
fluffy hair.
Right. So
Which-
nothing's gonna get destroyed in the process.
Yeah.
So for that was the first kind of introduction to the color change was the hair. Then they introduced one with it was hair and the same concept for the face. You swiped cold water and now she's got lipstick on and now she's got eyeshadow on.
I think I remember that one. I
Mhm.
remember the lip one.
And
And
wasn't
then
there a little spongy thing that you put in the water to wipe the face? Like it almost came with like
Yeah.
a makeup part. What's that makeup part called?
Kind of like a lipstick shaped thing.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it was nothing but a sponge. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have done it with anything, but it's, again, that kind of gimmicky thing of let me do like this makeup wand. Ooh, it's magical.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. That's the other thing. Is you're never going to screw that up because it's already there, which is pretty cool. And they also ended up doing a thing. They did like a whole resort, beach resort, pool resort, similar thing, but the bathing suit changed color. So she's in one color bathing suit. You put her in the water, it changes to another kind of bathing suit. So they did a lot of color change things on that in that respect too. The other kind of gimmicky thing that they did was with magnets. So
This is my favorite one.
they did, it was a line
love
called,
magnets,
it's called Quick Click. So, and that was really cool because the playsets that Polly Pocket was putting out were very fashion based. So they'd be like mall boutique little playsets, and there'd always be a lot of changing rooms because her big thing is like this doll comes with 3 to 4 outfits, change your clothes. So there'd be like a little like almost like cabana type dressing room. With the Quick Clicks,
If I can just quickly,
yeah.
was it a thing where you put her inside a sort of like dressing room thing? You click a button and it spun her around, and she'd come out wearing something else.
Kind of. So the way it worked was, and I don't believe these were the rubbery clothes anymore, but essentially you had, and I doubt she could really move in it, but you had half a dress on one side, half a dress
Yes,
on the
I
other.
remember this. Yeah, and it would you put them
Mhm.
together to make the dress. Yeah.
Right. So
It came out in
she.
2004, by the way.
Oh, okay, 2004. So the one that's sticking out of my mind is kind of a larger playset. It was still a mall playset, but it kind of had as a centerpiece this kind of big runway thing with a dressing room with a curtain in the back. So you'd put Polly Pocket, and I say naked, but she's always painted with a leotard or something on, so nothing's like too crazy. But you'd put her on with no clothes on this little pedestal, and then you'd click or push this little lever. It brings her all the way back and spins her into the changing room, and the curtain comes up. You pull her back, and now she's in a different outfit because
Magnets.
magnets. The magnets go
How do they
together.
work?
How do they work?
What's the clock?
But yeah, so it was pretty cool. It's like, all of a sudden she's in a different outfit. So that was the first kind of Quick Click thing that they did, but then they expanded on, okay, these are tiny little dolls with little magnets. We can do a lot of different things. There was one where it was like, I don't know if it was a hotel or a mall again, but there was an elevator with the Quick Click function. So in that one, you didn't put her in naked, she put a outfit on. In that one, she had one outfit on this level. She goes down in the elevator. While she's in the elevator going down, it takes off one outfit, puts on the other, and she comes down on the second floor.
I
in a different
remember that
outfit.
because
Yeah.
I thought that shit was so tight.
Oh, it's so cool.
When I saw my little sister playing with this, I was blown away by it. I was like, oh, this one, because like I said in the Tech Deck Dude episode, I love toys that use magnets because it's just such a weird gimmick. It means you can attach it anywhere, or everything. It's really awesome to feel the clink, and it's like, oh man, it's so awesome.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So clearly you have you clearly know about a lot of the Polly Pockets.
I do.
So you obviously must have some memories about them, about
Mhm.
purchasing them or about playing with them. I'm just going to jump right ahead and actually talk about mine real quick because
Yeah.
it's so
This
is
is
the-
assert my
Let me-
memories of
no,
Polly
yeah.
Pocket.
No, the reason why is, and it's strange is too, because like, okay, I'm a guy, and so my sister played with these, and at the time I was like, all right, I was more into video games now as I got older, not into toys, but my sister had this one toy, and I didn't know till now that it was Polly Pockets, and I'll show the picture to you guys. So first off, it's on eBay for $100 and something. I still have this at home, so
Your sister listed it.
So I had no idea that this was Polly Pockets. For the listeners, this is a mini island with her house and a shopping center. It's like a very mini Polly Pocket. I didn't know it was 1996, this set. It was about the size of, I want to say...
Well, those are the original Polly Pockets.
Okay, yeah, these are...
So those are before... Because
Like
the
the
one...
little clamshell ones?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
clamshell ones. Because
Mhm.
the what's the name of this one again?
Fashion Polly?
Fashion Polly is the 3 3/4 inch.
Yeah,
Now, those are the...
This is a memory that I have well beyond the the newer ones that you're talking about,
Mhm.
these couldn't bend at all. Well, they bent because it was their
Right
legs
at
were
the-
on a circle thing, and they bent right at the waist section.
Yep.
Their arms did
That's
not
a
move.
micro machine design.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and they had magnets underneath them. You would place them in the magnet area, and this lever that's in the lake, you could move it, and the character would walk around.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
The whole thing. So you can have her enter through the door of the shop,
Mhm.
and then go inside. You have like little clothes that were just printed onto the, it was just
Yeah.
a piece of plastic stuck to the hanger. So you couldn't change any clothes. You could have her go to her house, crawl to her bed, and then her bed sheets would go up because it got close and the mechanism was like, all right, she's near the bed. It would go up. You'd put her near there, and then it would close back down, and she would be in bed. That shit blew my mind as a kid. I
So
loved it.
That sounds like a much better, much more well put together version of what Star Wars did in the late 90s. Star Wars attempted to bring back their Micro Machine line, and they used the same concept where you would have a very tiny Polly Pocket sized version of a character,
Yeah.
and they would, and some of them, most of the time, it was a spaceship or something that they put a magnet on, and you would move the magnet under the thing, like with a long pole, and that would move the ship around.
That's
So
cool.
I think
yeah,
I think that's why I was into it as like a kid. When you see my sister play with this, I was like, this is so awesome because again, I was moving on to video games.
Yeah.
So I was more of a person that was like, toys are cool, but I hate having to hold on to them and do everything. But this, like in a video game, you're controlling the person. So I was using a tiny little lever to move around, and I was like,
Gabe just likes his joysticks.
I just like being able to control them because. I mean, I did that with Legos a lot.
I'm
It
gonna
was
make toys more hands off.
yes.
Says Gabe.
No, but you really gotta admire their ingenuity.
Absolutely.
It was,
Again, it's a fashion doll, but they're really engineering these kind of
oh yeah.
really cool little gadgets.
The bed thing, you'd go near the door would open. You'd go near the bed, the sheets would go up. You'd go near a swing, it would start moving. It was awesome.
It's pretty cool.
It was balls. But now onto your memories because
Thank you.
this was just the only thing that I could possibly share with a Polly Pocket. The rest is with my ferret and eating.
Yeah, I've shared everything that I've got, and I have a similar memory of a Star Wars toy. That's it.
Yeah.
So this is all news to me, and I find this
Okay.
so interesting.
Oh, cool.
Everything that you're saying, I think it's so cool. So
Well, I have a few memories.
awesome.
I'll start with the one that kind of ties into another one of the gimmicks that I actually just remembered because we actually had this one, and I think Julia got it for a birthday. But there was a play set, and I watched the commercial for it. I forgot about it until I rewatched the commercial, and I said, "Oh crap! I remember we had that one." And she probably got it for her birthday or something like that because it was kind of a more intricate play set. But it was I must have come with a little apartment kind of setup.
Okay.
It had stuff like throw pillows, and those are the same plastic
Yeah.
as the clothes, but it had a glitter chamber. So the whole selling point of this set was you get to put glitter on her outfit. So it was part craft, part play set.
Enter the glitter chamber.
Yeah.
Enter the glitter chamber.
This one I remember as well because my sister had some.
Remember?
Put
Yeah.
Captain Solo in the cargo holds.
Yeah.
It's covered in glitter.
And so I think they put together the glitter chamber. It almost kind of rings to me as, oh, okay, well, we solved the problem of little girls ruining carpets by putting makeup on things. So we solved that with the cold water gimmick. Cool. Well, they want to put glitter on things. Let's solve that. They can still do it with this glitter chamber. Unfortunately, in our experience at least, it was still a giant mess. I think the idea was they gave you some glitter glue. You're supposed to put the item in this little orange box. And you put the glitter glue in it, and somehow it was supposed to blow it around. And on the commercials, it always has it as the trim or very neat. But this just doused the thing in sticky glitter.
Yeah,
and it's ew.
Oh, that's fun.
Gross.
So I bet in theory they were like, all right, so if you put a little purse into this glitter chamber,
Mm-hmm.
and you took a little bit of glue and just put the glue on the trim of the of the purse,
Mm-hmm.
you turn on the glitter chamber. Their thought is the glitter will only stick to the parts with glue.
Right.
What they don't understand or what they refuse to acknowledge.
The nature of the plastic they made makes it's like a dust and glitter magnet.
Yeah,
Yes, it
and
really
on
is.
and on top of that, the glue itself is going to get blown around
Yeah.
by the glitter chamber.
Yeah.
So the glue is going to fly around in there with everything. Like, the glue is a liquid.
Yeah,
It's going to fill.
my sister had
space.
some dresses that looked like, I was wondering what the hell she did with them.
Yeah.
They were coated with glitter.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them followed the lines of where you were supposed to put the stuff. Like at the bottom, there would be a little trim of glitter, and I was like, oh, okay. But you'd see it would go out into spots that it clearly wasn't supposed to be in.
Yeah.
The glitter would be really coarse and would come
Mhm.
off and get into other places, even when you played with them.
Oh, yeah.
Because, again, I remember I was trying to get it out of my ferret's mouth. I was like, no, don't eat that. Stop.
Yeah.
They really like to chew on it.
Yeah.
And those, yeah, that thing is, even without the glue, a magnet for dust,
Mm-hmm.
it was, those things would get filthy. If you did not keep them in a contained area, just a slight falling in the ground, if it rolls, it'll collect something, and it's hard to get it off that rubber clothes.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. So essentially, Julia ended up with this, like, I specifically remember the throw pillow because it was just a brick of glitter, and the glitter rubbed off, but the stickiness didn't. So it was like purple with a layer of glitter and a layer of just filth, and it was just gross. But she kept it, so that's good.
Here, Polly Pocket, wear this.
Yeah.
And the Polly Pocket's screaming inside as you dress her in cat hair and glitter.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Oh yeah, especially we were always a 2-cat household, so
Yeah.
a lot of cat hair. But other memories. So again, if you haven't listened to the Bratz episode where I laid out my very strange childhood, it was a very strange
I
childhood.
had to cut out about 65% of it, so...
Yeah. Whatever the intention of whatever was being marketed to me, I always took the thing and then did kind of, not the opposite, but I just did what was not intended for the doll to do. Well, so Polly Pocket, again, they were designed that you're supposed to play with them with other Polly Pockets. I didn't do that necessarily. So one of the things we did do with the Polly Pockets was they were the right size to be the teenage daughters of this Fisher-Price dollhouse family set.
Okay.
So I'm like,
Here we go.
oh, we're going to integrate them. So Julia and I, because it was kind of a big deal.
Context. Julia. Who is Julia?
Julia is my sister, 2.5 years younger than me. May or may not be in this room right now, wrangling the cat. We got, I think it was from our grandparents, this huge Fisher-Price dollhouse that, it was like a big Victorian house that like flipped out. It was plastic. It came with all the furniture and like a flip down stairs, double whatever.
Yeah.
And it was a mom and a dad and then a girl baby and a boy baby. And I'm like, this is fun. What Fisher-Price failed to do, though, was to add, like, children. Because I'm like, okay, all we can really do is, like, pretend we're new parents, and that's just stressful. So
or infants.
Or infants. So here comes the Polly Pockets when we've created the family, because it's the mom, the dad, they have a slew of 12 to 16-year-old daughters, and then babies. So that was fun. We played with them in that respect. So
That sounds more stressful to me.
Yeah.
no, it was fun. Like, they could do their own things. The babies were kind of like a side thing. We didn't really play with them as much. But, you know, family drama and all that fun stuff. So we did that. But what sticks out in my mind the most, and this goes with a different play set of a different brand, was... And this was kind of beyond the age where I was playing with them seriously and then started playing with them ironically, if that makes sense.
What the... How do you play with something ironically?
Look at me, I'm playing with Leia. Yeah, kind of, sort of, but not really. I'm sorry.
What I mean is, so I want to say in the 5th grade, I got a digital tiny little camcorder, and my biggest hobby was making movies with my friends and with my sister. So, so we started making movies with whatever dolls we had around. So they could be Barbies, they could be Polly Pockets, they could be Lego minifigures, whatever we had around. So my sister got a Barbie American Idol playset for her birthday. That opened up the opportunity for, it was Julia, my sister, and Haley, my best friend growing up, to do we tried to do it stop motion, and then we realized it's going to take forever, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to have our hands in the frame and move the dolls around. American Idol in the future show. So, the way we did it was, and again, I don't want to talk about Barbies too much, but it was primarily a Barbie cast as the contestants. We had one Ken doll who was Simon Cowell. So we were making do with what we had. So the Polly Pocket comes into play in that most of this show and the American Idol set was made for Barbies. But because this is the future, we took a Polly Pocket and she was Ryan Seacrest's daughter because Ryan Seacrest is notoriously short.
Okay.
And that was the whole thing. So that's what I remember. We also cut out, we printed out a very tiny American Idol logo. And every time they swore, we put it over their mouth like they do on the show.
That's funny.
That is funny.
Creative.
So
Yeah.
that's what we did with the Polly Pockets at the time.
See, mine was all cool as shit.
Oh, and
With
mine's
this tiny
not?
little magnetic one. It was pretty normal. And then yours is this futuristic
reality talent show.
Yeah.
That's called creativity, Gabe.
I know. I clearly lacked it.
I guess.
So, yes, like everything that we talk about here, these things are dead, or they might be still around, but not anywhere near.
In the same form in which they were presented to us.
Yeah,
Right.
rebooted or not.
Rebooted, quality change in product.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So, we have to ask the most important question.
Mm-hmm.
Was it murdered, or did it die of natural causes? Or something else?
And
Well-
perhaps even because, a lot of times people naturally come across this part of the question too. And I realizing now you didn't even mention this. How did it end?
Yeah.
And then, so give us how it ended,
So,
and then whether or not you thought that it was a strategic killing of the product.
well, I don't want to say it was killed. Polly Pocket, as I knew it, no longer exists, but it evolved. So, I mean, technically, Polly Pocket still exists. It is an ongoing property, I believe. And I think at this point, it has a TV show. I don't, and I've said this about Bratz too. I have not seen an ad for Polly Pocket while, babysitting younger kids in high school, or just kind of coming across channel surfing on Nickelodeon or whatever. I haven't come across an ad for the doll. But in some capacity, I think a TV show exists.
Yeah, I have the answer to that.
Okay.
So, when they relaunched in 2018, just for context, the original line from 1989 ended at 2015, and they rebooted it in 2018. It's still going on apparently,
Okay.
and they came out with a TV series to accompany the 2018 relaunch.
Mm-hmm.
2010, there was a web animated series, and there were two movies. 2003, Polly Pocket Lunar Eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
Polly Pocket 2, Cool at the Pocket Palace, 2005, and Polly World 2006.
Now, I remember ads for Polyworld, and if I want to give it a death date, as I knew it, I would kind of put the release of the movie as the death
Polyworld?
date. Yeah.
Okay.
2006.
That makes sense to me as an outsider.
Right.
Of the whole thing.
Yeah, because I also don't remember seeing any.
Yeah.
I remember only seeing them around 2004. The commercials.
So I have outside memories of the Polly Pocket explosion of from the 1999 onward, and I think while we were doing research before this, you were showing me some commercials, some earlier commercials,
Yeah.
and the 2006 movie you expressed was the first thing in the line because we watched all the commercials in order,
Right.
and you kind of expressed that was the first bit that you didn't remember.
Yeah.
But that's not how we judge whether or not something, what its death date is. So it's not just a
Right.
personal anecdote. It's usually done evidence-based. And in this case, the evidence that you kind of presented to me, I don't know if you remember, is that the art style appeared to have changed.
That is true. So even in the on the Polly Pocket branding and in the commercials usually subsisted of a live action scene of girls usually shopping in a mall, and they're shopping with the animated Polly Pocket, going up escalators and walking through shops and stuff like that. The animation that I saw for the Polly World trailer looked a lot It looked different. It looked a lot more digital, if that makes sense. It reminded me kind of like Total Drama Island, if you guys remember that at all. Where it's like kind of, I don't want to call it robotic, but like kind of more...
Well, it's like...
Flat and less flowy, if that makes sense.
Digital trying to make it look like hand-drawn.
Right.
And it falls into an uncanny valley of, what is this? And
right.
It looks strange. And also, you pointed out to me that at a certain point they drop the first part of that Polly Pocket name. What was it?
Well, yeah, so they dropped Fashion Polly because
Fashion Polly,
the whole brand became Fashion Polly. So now it's not Fashion Polly anymore.
It's just Polly.
It's just Polly Pocket. So the brand itself is is still around.
Yeah. But
the doll, as I knew it, is dead. So maybe that's natural causes. Maybe just like the '89 iteration of it went its course and then gave rise to something else more marketable, and I feel like that's kind of what has happened here.
If I could provide a little bit of context as to the definition of murdered versus natural causes, I agree with you that it's natural causes. If we were talking about Polly Pocket of the 80s, that's called murder.
Okay, so murdered by Fashion Polly.
Murdered by Fashion Polly. I mean, like the original Polly Pocket, which was the definitive Polly Pocket, gets completely destroyed it's not even provided a small section of the shelf. It is told, no, you're dead, get out.
Yeah.
And they roll that out there.
Right.
So in this case, so this just more or less evolved into an entire visual marketing scheme that is just not reminiscent at the least. At the most, it's unrecognizable. I don't know if you go that far, but on the scale of marketing changes, the worst case would be unrecognizable, and the least worst case would be, say, it doesn't bring about any, it doesn't reminisce any memories for you. You don't reminisce any memories when you see it.
I mean, definitely the trailer that I saw for the movie definitely doesn't cause me to reminisce at all. I wouldn't call it unrecognizable, but if you didn't tell me that was Polly Pocket, I wouldn't have known. I mean, she's just kind of a generic blonde girl, so that could be anything.
Polly Pocket idea, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you'd have to tell me, oh, this is Polly Pocket, and I'd be like, oh, I guess.
Yeah.
In that way. So I would say it's probably natural causes. I think it did end up lasting longer than the first iteration of Polly Pocket, and it did spawn things like movies and TV shows. Is this the the updated doll that's out right now?
The one that I have up is from 2010, and I could definitely say that it has lost its identity.
It definitely has. That is unrecognizable.
Yeah.
So we know for certain that by 2010, which I believe is when they started another reboot, that's the point where...
Well, the reboot is 2018.
No, there was a one previously, I believe. I believe there's a 2010 reboot as well.
Are you sure?
I believe...
Nope.
No, I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah.
All right, man.
It just had a drastic change around 2010, it seems.
So perhaps that Polyworld movie is the beginning of this transition towards a different identity.
Right. And again, it's still blonde girl and rubber clothes, but she looks a lot different. Like, even if I wasn't looking, because there were a couple different characters that didn't really have that many identities, but, there's redhead friend and, brown-haired friend, whatever. I could still look at them, not even knowing their names, and be like, oh, that's a Polly Pocket. Not necessarily Polly herself, but that is a Polly Pocket. If I saw what, we just pulled up, I would be like, is this a knockoff of Polly Pocket? Is probably what I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess if she evolved into something new, and that's natural causes, I think that's what
I think so.
Categories.
Yeah, looking at the images, it seems like after the movie, 2008 was a weird change for Polly Pockets, and then 2010, it's completely a new design.
Yeah.
Still the same, light-skinned blonde hair. Looks like it's still ponytail, but the art is different on the cover, and the doll looks not the same. It's
she almost looks like Betty Spaghetti. Remember Betty Spaghetti?
The name rings a bell, but
she was a bigger doll, I think bigger than a Barbie, but she had like stringy spaghetti
Oh, yes.
hair.
Yeah, these strange things. They were...
Those creep me out.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
those are
avant-garde.
very short-lived, but just the facial features look like that
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So
Gabe, do we have the hammer and chisel?
Yes.
What was that date that you said would be the ending? If
Maybe
Polyworld's
2006.
2006.
2006. Our start date for Fashion Poly,
Mm-hmm.
1999. Death date 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Our autopsy seems to have reached a close.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the opportunity for you to say some final words before we finally lay Polly Pocket to rest, or Fashion Polly to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Take a moment to look back towards Polly from adults' point of
Mhm.
view.
Okay. As an adult looking backward on my own experience of Polly Pocket at the time, I had a lot of fun with Polly Pocket. It was a very bright and colorful brand, and it was a lot different and unique thing on the market. And it did kind of make for a lot of fun times. Again, because they're so small, we were able to have a lot of them. So, we could do things like pool parties and big sleepover things and like play in that way. Primarily with me and my sister, sometimes a cousin, sometimes a friend, but everybody had them and they usually had different ones. So there was a lot of, variety there, and we had a lot of fun. I didn't really appreciate it at the time really for what it was, but just like the pure engineering that went behind some of this really gimmicky stuff is really pretty cool and really smart from a kind of marketing aspect. And I bet it was really cool for some of these people, I'm sure, that had some kind of engineering degree to design for like a little girl's toy brand, because I feel like more of the kind of innovative engineering toys were geared towards boys, especially at that time.
Yeah.
So for something that was geared more towards girls, I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Like I said, I thought that shit was bitchin'.
Oh, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah. As an adult looking back, though, so those are my experiences as a kid.
Mhm.
Looking back as an adult, and especially having done the Bratz episode first, the thing that really sticks out to me like a sore thumb in both the branding and commercials, and then in the dolls themselves, is a stark lack of diversity.
Okay.
I spent a weird amount of time earlier today looking at the commercials that I remember, and I don't recall seeing a girl of color in the commercials at all.
Mhm.
So Polly Pocket herself is a white blonde girl. Okay, that's fine. But all of her friends, it's like a white girl with brown hair, a white girl with red hair, and then a literal token black girl. And even then, she's a very light-skinned black girl. And I don't see, especially, when you're given the opportunity with kind of molded plastic hair, the opportunity to have a black girl with natural hair is there.
Yeah.
And at least from what I recall and what I've watched today with the commercials, I didn't see any of that.
At least in that time frame. Now, what
At least
happened
in that
after
time frame.
2006 may have changed.
Right.
but-
If they updated it, then that's fantastic. But I don't remember seeing that. And I think even if they did have a black character, she had the hair texture that was implied in the plastic, I feel, was more of a fine hair as opposed to like a natural black hair. So that sticks out as a problem for me. And again, having like a bunch of white if you have 5 friends, 4 of them are white and 1 of them is black, and there doesn't really seem to be any other kind of wiggle room, it doesn't really much feel like tokenization. And
Mhm.
obviously that's not good. That's not good representation. And I try and put myself in a situation of, okay, if I was a little black girl at Toys R Us, and Polly Pocket is offering me all these cool little gadgets and these cool little things, but where's my representation? Where can I see myself reflected in these really cool little toys? That would be a kind of issue as a little girl growing up. And the same goes for Hispanic girls, Asian girls, Native American girls, Middle Eastern girls, because again, it was a bunch of white girls and 1 black girl, and that really seemed to be it.
Mhm.
Unless I'm wrong.
It seems to be that way
Yeah.
even now.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Looking on the official website, main character,
Okay.
side character.
Uh-huh.
So here's one person of color.
Okay.
We have the male version,
Sure.
and
But
it's all-
that's
my
it.
But
It looks like, what's that horror movie?
Get Out.
No, sure. I meant the one where they kill people at night.
Us?
No, the one where
A lot of horror movies kill people. That
no,
night.
the one where it's the killing day.
The
Oh,
Purge.
The
The
Purge.
Purge.
This Polly Pocket website looks like The Purge.
It's a little weird. So, okay, so that kind of confirms my thing with the brand, and
That's from the official website.
yeah, you kind of hope that they get
No.
with the times. But even 2006, if we put that as a death date, that's too late to not have that.
Rats was running circles around that.
Bratz was running circles around them. Again, they kind of gave equal footing to different characters of different races, and even Barbie by that time. Again, Barbie herself is the main character. She's a white blonde woman, but she has friends of different ethnicities featured around. And that really wasn't in Polly Pocket's roster at all. And again, as a growing up a little white girl, I did not notice that. But yeah, kind of looking back as an adult and in this climate, that's something that's very much sticking out to me as, oh no, this is a problem. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Also, I was watching this is not a big of a deal as the race thing, because I think the race thing is the number one issue I have at this point. But we were going through and watching old commercials, and there was a Quick Click, the Quick Click brand. I mentioned this earlier with that was the magnet kind of things, and they had the dressing room magnet, Quick Click, and the elevator, but they also had a stretch limo, which was cool. It kind of looked like a VW Bug, and you pulled it out and it became a stretch limo. It was pretty
this
cool.
Was funny, yeah.
This was funny. So, but the way the Quick Click worked was when you pulled the stretch limo out, the Quick Click was in between the driver and passenger seat and then the trunk. So you pulled it out, you put Polly in the driver's seat of this limo, and then you pulled a lever, it pulls her out of the driver's seat into the middle of the limo and into the trunk in an outfit, leaving nobody in the driver's seat
She pops
on
out of
the
the trunk
highway.
and veers off into the ocean.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, you know what? It's not like girls playing with these are driving, so like whatever. But I'm like, that's kind of jarring, because like imagine
Coming out of the trunk.
Surprise!
Yeah, I just imagine one of her friends in the passenger seat, like, oh my god, like reaching
Polly,
over,
what are you
trying to get
doing?
out the wheel. So
Get behind the wheel!
This will be my final outfit.
yeah, pretty much. So, yeah. So those are my thoughts on Polly Pocket. Great engineering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great engineering, unique design. In hindsight, and right now, get the diversity in there. It's not that hard. Being a United States-based company, I shouldn't have to be saying it, but Polly Pocket, get your shit together. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you
today.
for having me again.
And we hope to see you again soon.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
I don't think you say that to someone at a mortuary.
No, you do understand.
Hey, I hope to see you again
But
soon.
you do understand that I send get well cards to everybody who's sick, right?
Yes, that's fine. But you don't...
You know how insincere a get well card from a mortuary is? Get well soon.
Wink.
Hey, that
Wink.
means I hope you can move on and see this passing as a beautiful thing.
You know what?
But you sure as hell don't say, I'll see you later.
I'll send sorry for your loss cards before they die. Like,
You know what?
I heard you broke your leg. Sorry for your loss.
Sorry for your
As long as I'm on like this side of the coffin and not on the other side, like I'm happy to be told I'll see you again.
Yeah, if you wake up above the dirt, then you're already winning.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thanks.
Remember that.
Thank you for visiting the Memory Mortuary. Our guest today and cover illustrator was Emily Barksdale. Our morticians are Andreas Marengos, Esquire, and Splash and Fashion Gabe with Magic Color Change Hair. Our intro music was composed and performed by Christian Decknatel. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow or subscribe on whatever platform you are listening on. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Memory Mortuary. We'd love to hear your feedback on these platforms. Join us next week as we perform another autopsy here at the Memory Mortuary. We're sorry for your